Hi, I'm Cacey Wilken, and I'm a conservation field technician here at Spring Creek Prairie Audubon Center, where we work to protect the tallgrass prairie and the birds that rely on it. Here's what it looks like in the winter.
And here's the prairie in the summer and the fall. We do our best to help the land thrive for all of the insects, birds, and wildlife that live here, while showing people what a cool place it is to come and relax and connect with nature. The first time I visited the prairie, I was in 3rd grade. It was really cool. I always liked being outside, learning about science and nature, but for a long time, I didn't really know what kind of job I wanted to have. In fact, I tried a lot of different jobs. I worked in a kitchen, I did water quality research all around Nebraska, and I volunteered at the zoo. Eventually, I got a chance to work in Namibia, Africa, in the Namib Desert. I'm sure a lot of you have seen the Lion King movies, and the Lion King is based on the Namib Desert, and it's one of the oldest deserts in the world. I worked on wildlife counts and did environmental education with kids about your age, helping them learn how to be environmentalists in their everyday lives. One of my favorite parts of my job at Spring Creek Prairie is prescribed burning. Each year, we carefully prepare a different section of the prairie to burn so that all of the nutrients can be cycled back into the soil and the native prairie plants can grow back stronger. Historically, the indigenous people that lived here used fire in this way too, and wildfire naturally cycled through the tall grass prairie every few years, so we try to replicate that. Burning different parts of the prairie each year is really good for the animals too, because some of the birds prefer thick, overgrown areas, while others prefer more recently burned habitat. My day-to-day work can be really different between seasons. Sometimes I'm clearing fallen trees to get ready for prescribed burns. Do you think I was strong enough to move that huge tree? Last spring, I spent a lot of time planting plantings of native species in garden areas and areas that needed to be replanted after construction. The summer is a lot of fixing fences and removing invasive species like musk thistles. In the fall, we do some seed harvests. We pick the dried seeds from prairie plants and plant them in other areas. These seeds look like this liatris plant when they're in bloom. The winter is a little quieter, but it leaves a lot of time for writing, planning plantings, preparing for the growing season, and working on my maps.
Speaking of maps, I get to make all kinds of cool prairie maps. Every year we do a breeding bird survey where people walk around on the prairie and make notes of where they see or hear different kinds of birds, and then I take all of those locations and put them on a map. And with that, we can see if our management techniques are helping the birds and if their populations are getting bigger or smaller each year. The best part about conservation is that everyone can do it. You can do community science with your friends and family, you can visit nature centers, you can compost and turn off your lights when you're not using them at home, and you can learn about the wildlife in your neighborhood. Every little thing adds up and we can do a lot of good. Thanks for visiting Spring Creek Prairie Audubon Center.